you ever wondered what the line in the holiday song, The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, means? This line. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of old glories of Christmases long, long ago. Just wondered. So, exactly what are Christmas ghost stories? So, we can take a guess like I did. And the name of today's talk is a big hint. It's a Christmas carol, so I give thanks for the carols that were sung today. That's great. But to make sense of it might be in Charles Dickens' classic tale, A Christmas Carol, which is our theme for today. We're going to make it our Christmas carol as well, as we look at the ghosts of our past, and the ghosts of our future, and the ghosts of our present. And more importantly, how not to let them take control of us, as sometimes we do. I am certain that all of you are familiar with the story, that story, having read the book, and there's been 10 different versions of the movie, and even theatrical productions of A Christmas Story. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, a brief refresher. Ebenezer Scrooge was a miserable fellow. He was miserly and mean and beyond and devoid of any compassion, warmth, or humor. The Christmas season for him was a major inconvenience and a disruption of business, filled with nothing but nonsense. As the story begins, it is Christmas Eve, after being dreadful to everyone, especially his hard-working, underpaid, and underappreciated clerk, Bob Cratchit. He went home. As he was warming himself by the fire, he hears these haunting noises, and suddenly he is visited by the ghost of his dead business partner, Jacob Marley, triggering some memories. Mind you, Marley was just as miserable a fellow while he was alive as Scrooge is now. They made quite a pair. In this vision, Marley is limping along, dragging these heavy chains behind him. Marley tells Scrooge that he has come to warn him to change his miserly, miserable ways before it's too late. Marley says that the chains he now drags along behind him were created by the choices he made while he was alive. The choices he made to be miserly and miserable. He said it through his own free will, he made those choices. And that Scrooge was making the same choices, but he still had time to recover. And so the story goes, Scrooge is visited in his dreams by 3 ghosts. The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas yet to be. In the context of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, let us this morning take a look at our Christmas carol, because we all have a Christmas carol within us, and see how your ghosts of Christmas past and Christmas yet to be can affect your Christmas present. So, the first one, Christmas past. When Ebenezer travels to the past, we learn that he had a lonely, unhappy childhood. We see that one loving factor in his life was his older sister, who was removed after she died from giving birth to her son. We see that while he had some very good influences as a young adult, he also had some not good influences. We see how he let his love of money be more important to him than the love of his wife. The ghost of Christmas past takes him to some pretty painful places in the past that he begs not to see them. He doesn't want to see them, but he is taken there anyway. We see how he evolved into the person that he came to be. If we were to do a similar review of our past, I suspect that we too will visit maybe some painful places that we just as soon not visit. And we would see that we had some positive influences as well as some not so positive influences. And we will see how all those influences and experiences combined have molded us into who we are today. But unlike Ebenezer, who was taken back to and then out of his past rather quickly, some of us stay stuck in that old story. Some of us stay stuck in the past. Or more accurately, we bring forward into our present lots and lots of stuff, lots of pain, wounds from the past, which can affect our present in fact, it does affect our present very much. We talked about something last week, something that I think is one of the most important things that we could ever consciously do, and that is to forgive. So my definition of forgiveness was releasing the demand that anyone or anything be anything other than it was. So what took place, took place. We don't push it away, we don't fight it, we can embrace it even, to move on, not to hang out there. One way to tell if you truly have forgiven is that when you run the story, because these are all story through your mind, that you do not have that reaction to it. It's pretty amazing when you do the work. It just becomes a story that you can tell without any upset, without any kind of pain about it. That's when you've known you truly have forgiven. Forgiving others for their mistakes, yes. But often, it's even more important to forgive ourselves for our mistakes that we might have made. And to me, mistakes are just opportunities to learn something if we take them that way. So Ernest Holmes wrote, this is a little long passage, but I love it. So listen to what Ernest Holmes writes in Science of Mind book, page 290. Suppose someone says, I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. I had opportunities I did not grasp. All of us had this feeling at some time in our lives. This is the direct belief that there is but one opportunity which comes to us, and if we do not take it, we will have no more. This is a belief in limited opportunities. I love that. Limited opportunities. And it must be denied completely and specifically, he says. It is not that we have made no mistakes, but if the belief in the necessity of mistakes stays in the consciousness, then there is bound to be a repetition. It is scientific practice to declare that there have been no mistakes in our consciousness, that if there have been, they are now wiped out. There is none in the divine plan, and there is no plan for us other than the divine plan. And he continues, if we have had and apparently lost many opportunities, we must be shown that we stand at the point of limitless opportunity. That opportunity is right here today. That we see it and grasp it. It recognizes us as we recognize it. We exist in limitless opportunities, which are forever seeking expression through us. Limitless opportunities that are forever seeking expression through us. They can't come through anyone else. That's for other people. But they're coming through us. Do we think we only have one opportunity in life? Untrue. I think that's a great passage, and I particularly like this part of it. It is a scientific practice to declare that there have been no mistakes in consciousness, that if there have been, they are now wiped out. There are none in the divine plan, and there is no plan for us other than the divine plan. So beautiful. The divine plan for our life is anything that promotes love and life, that moves in that direction where we feel aligned because we feel good. That's how we know we're in alignment, because it just feels like the flow. It feels good. And there's no other plan for us. Do you ever think about that? But the divine plan. There is a divine plan for each and every one of us. Whatever is in your past, whatever you have done and keep throwing in your own face, you need to know that Spirit is present and wants you to feel loved. Feel the love of this infinite energy that created each and every one of us. Never judged. So there is no need for forgiveness in divine mind. There is absolutely no need for forgiveness. So how long will you enslave yourself if you're still stuck in that whole victim consciousness and can't seem to pull yourself out? Forgiveness, the key to releasing the grip of the ghost of Christmas past. That is keeping you from experiencing the joy of the present moment. Just breathe that in. The joy of the present moment. That moves us into the future. And what about the grip of the ghost of Christmases yet to be? What does that have on us? It can keep us disconnected from the gift of the present. The presence, the present, the gift of the present. After viewing the future, which, back to Scrooge, he didn't really care much for, Scrooge asked the ghost of Christmas yet to be a very important question. He said, please tell me that these things that I've seen shadows of, they must be, or shadows of things that might be. Because isn't it true that if deeds are changed, conditions will change as well? Pretty new thought Charles Dickens was there. We would change one word in that question, though. We would say that because isn't it true in consciousness? If consciousness is changed, then the conditions will change. This is what we teach. Change your thinking, change your life will never get old to me. Just never get old, because it is the truth. It is the truth. And of course, we all know the story, the future that Scrooge saw reflected to him of the things that might be, but did not become, because he changed the present. Where do we do the change? We can only do it. I can't say this enough. We can only do change in the now moment. We cannot do it in the past. We cannot do it in the future. We can only do it now. So many people spend their lives saying words to the effect of, what am I going to do if? Anyone ever catch themselves? I've caught myself doing that. Not recently, though, I must say. I've been pretty good. Yeah, I'm thinking up here. Okay, I've been pretty good, but oh my God, it's always this frightening if. That if was like, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. Oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh my God, if. But usually that if doesn't even happen. So in the present moment, we have all that fear. And I think we all want to create a fabulous future. Ernest Holmes tells us again in Science of Mind, we must not have fear for the future. I see that future is bright with promise. It beckons me forward into a more complete realization of my own worth and my rightful place in the universe. All my tomorrows are happy and filled with harmonious occupations. I look to the future with great and pleasurable anticipation, knowing it expands my opportunity for radiant self-expression. I love my past and my future and understand that this is all part of the chain of life, one unbroken chain of life. There is no future to be afraid of and no past to bring discord into the present. And it might seem like, oh, how unrealistic of me to stand up here and say all this when I'm going through all this stuff in my life. But you know what? What are the options? To stay in the misery, like Scrooge did? To stay in the misery, or to make a new choice and say, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to let Spirit, the universe, whatever you use, guide me in my every thought in this moment. In this moment. That brings us to the present. Scrooge looks into the present and sees the life of the Cratchit family. A family that has almost nothing, except for one thing, the only thing that matters, love. They have love. Perfect song. Remember, as you embark on the next few days before Christmas, the only thing that really matters is love. Everything flows from this gift. Everything flows from that gift of love. You can't hear it enough. A woman came out of her house and saw 3 old men with long white beards sitting in her front yard. She did not recognize them. She said, I don't think I know you. You must be hungry. Please come in and have something to eat. Is your family home? They asked. No, she replied, not at the moment. Then we cannot come in. We will wait until the entire family is present. In the evening, when all the family was home, she told her husband about the 3 men outside. Her husband said, go and invite them in to have dinner with us. The woman went out and invited the men in. We do not go in a house together, they replied. His name is Success, one said, pointing to the other one. And his name is Happiness, and my name is Love. Then he added, now go in and discuss this with your family, which one of us you would like to invite in. The woman went in and told her husband, and his opinion was, he was overjoyed. How nice, he said. Since that's the case, let's invite Success in and fill this house with success. His wife disagreed. My dear, why don't we invite in Happiness? And the daughter, who was listening in the corner of the room, she jumped in and said, why don't we invite in Love? Then our home will be filled with love. Let us heed our daughter's advice, said the husband to his wife. Go out and invite Love to be our guest. The woman went out and asked the 3 old men, Love, won't you please come in and be our guest? Love got up and the other 2 started to follow. The woman was very surprised. She said, I thought only one could come in at a time. I only invited Love. Why are you coming in? The old men replied together, if you had invited Success or Happiness, the other 2 would have waited outside. But since you invited Love, wherever he goes, we follow. We go with him. Where there is love, there is success and happiness. Just a little story to let you know that all the qualities that we so desire are within love, love itself. And this, from Love Without End by Glenda Green. God is the source of all love. I am love. You are love as well. In that respect, we bear the same name. Insofar as anyone fully becomes the love that he is, then there is a conscious oneness with God. And when you know this, when you live in the presence of love, she writes, you know that right where you are, and right now is the best possible place to be. Right here, right now. Every place, every day, every moment, you are in your right place. Even when it doesn't feel like it's your right place. If you're stuck in holiday traffic, you're in your right place. If you're standing in line, or maybe you're the cashier, and there's 20 or 30 people in that line as well, you're in your right place. You get to choose. You get to choose. There is no past. There is no present. It's always the eternal now. We know this. I can't hear it enough. To bring ourselves back to this moment. This is the only now. This is a holy instant. This is holy in that now moment. Because everything else unfolds from the choice we make right here and right now. The omnipresence of God's love is everywhere. We know this. So that God, that divine being is within each and every one of us, living, moving, and expressing through us when we allow it. When we allow it. In all your ways, God is the very essence of your life. The very essence of your life, of your being. That has always been and will always be. That's why it's so wonderful when you say, I of God can do nothing. It's the God within that doeth the work. That's when we let go and let God. That's when we turn it over. That's when we say, Uncle, I'm just going to let the universe guide me. As I've heard stories this morning, the universe never makes a mistake. And the universe is God, is energy, is love. It never makes a mistake. And when we trust in that, the most amazing, wonderful occurrences take place that we could never plan. So once we know this truth and live this truth every minute of every day, once we live in the present, letting go of the wounds of the past and trusting, that's a big word, isn't it? Trusting in the presence for a perfect future. Our joy can be boundless. We can truly feel the peace, the love, and the light of this holiday season. Eric Butterworth once wrote, let the past remain the past, and let the future come to you as it will. Possess life now, and live each day as it comes, serenely, joyously, comfortably, and with faith in the presence and the power and the love of God, expressed in and through you. Learn to do this, and you will find that you will be a new person. Truly. If the old way doesn't work, the old way works, stay there. But if you would like to truly just be in that flow that we hear about, then we gotta release, we gotta trust that there is a higher power that is for us. That is for us. Learn to do this, and you will find your Christmas carol turns out just as joyously as Ebenezer Scrooge. Learn to do this, and every time of year, this will be a season of good cheer. I want to close this talk today, this Christmas carol talk, with a treatment from Ernest Holmes' book. And this is a treatment for peace. This is a prayer for peace. It's on page 264 if you need it. So just take this in. I am filled with wonderful peace and light. There is no uncertainty about my future and no fear as a result of my past. I live in the eternal now, which is filled with good alone. Goodness and beauty follow me. Peace and joy accompany me. Happiness and wholeness fill my entire being with the realization of love and perfection. I am the Christ, the Son of the living God within me. This inner mind of mine is now divine and complete. It has no worries or fears. It is whole, complete, and satisfied. I look back over all previous experiences and find that it was good. It was very good. I look forward to the future and find it too is good and very good. For God is in all, over all, and through all. Just breathe that in, because that's the truth of our being as we go through any season. But right now we're in this holiday season. So what Christmas carol are we living? Which Christmas carol are we creating? Let's stay in the flow of this divine good. And in this moment and in every moment, open our hearts and our minds to truly to love itself. And let that be our guide. And so it is. Woo.